But we'll start off today, I think, with Clint Bowyer. Kyle, there's a couple of moments, Jim. Clint Boyer's got some historic moments and some fun ones at that. So do you want to kick us off with your favorite Clint Bowyer moment?
Yes. So do we want to go like our number one and then go down the rest of them that we have, or do we want to start with like number three and then build up to our top moment here?
I mean, we can go back and forth. So I think we start at three. I think we start at the lowest.
And obviously, we'll probably have some overlap at some point.
I imagine so.
So let's begin with Clint Bowyer. My third favorite Clint Bowyer moment. We're going pretty recently here. I'm going back to the 2018 STP 500 at Martinsville when he ended his 190 race winless streak at Martinsville. Great win from him. It was always great to see Clint Bowyer in victory lane, no matter who you cheered for. He was just that guy that everyone likes. And seeing him end that winless streak on the Monday, the delayed race on the Monday, winning at Martinsville, finally getting that grandfather clock, and seeing the amazing burnout where everybody in the commentary booth thought he was wrecking going into three on the celebration lap. He was just so excited to finally celebrate that win again. And that's one that definitely stands out in the recent Clint Bowyer history, at least for me, getting that win for Stewart-haas there, and kind of having that kind of bounce back season, and one of the better seasons we've seen from him recently in 2018, where he picked up a win there, primarily at Martinsville, the one that stands out. So for me, that's my number three Clint Bowyer moment.
All right. It's funny you say that because that was my number three moment for Clint Bowyer. I think part of it, too, is just seeing the joy that he shared with his son, Cash, when they were running towards each other on the front stretch. And, you know, Bowyer had a rough go of things up until that point, missed the playoffs, and he got back into victory lane, and that was one of his last wins in the Cup Series here. So it's crazy to think that's already been 3 seasons ago since that happened. But at the same time, I mean, that moment will always stand out in my mind, just seeing Bowyer's progression up through the ranks kind of thing, where he was an Xfinity Series champion at one point, which is crazy to think about, and then also just becoming a dad, and then just seeing his son, who's most likely going to follow in the same footsteps as Clint did. It's a very talented Bowyer family over there, so I really, really like that moment. So that's number three for me as well. So that's pretty funny. But I think before we get into when we go to number one, we'll do our honorable mentions, because I've got a couple of those that just missed the cut. But we'll go on to number two here, Kyle, with your second favorite Bowyer moment.
Yes. So this one, we're going further back in the timeline here. We're going back to 2011 for this one for me. The Good Sam Club 500 at Talladega, when Bowyer pulls out and wins over teammate Jeff Burton. That's just one of the quintessential tandem races that you think back to in that era, where the two RCR cars were able to get out in front of everybody, had such a huge gap, and it was them the entire way. It was great to see two teammates race each other cleanly but also tough, and Bowyer pulls out and gets the win there in very close fashion. Like when you think of like the tandem days, you think of those kind of finishes, and that's one of the ones that definitely stands out in my mind for Clint Bowyer.
Yeah, it's in my honorable mentions, that one. It was very, very close to cracking my top three, but it just missed the cut. So my second favorite Clint Bowyer moment is Phoenix 2012. It's when the iconic Jeff Gordon wrecking Clint Bowyer, and Clint not taking that too kindly, and getting out of his car is totally smashed up on pit road, and he gets out of the car, and he's wondering where his pit crew is. Well, they're fighting Jeff Gordon's crew in the garage. So then he hops out of the car, and the camera's just watching him sprint full blast to the 24 hauler. And then he gets up to the hauler and just starts screaming at him and pointing his finger. And, I mean, that's just iconic. I will never forget that. He was in the middle of a championship battle that season as well, finished second in the points to Brad Keselowski. So he was right in the thick of things, and that wreck really took him out of contention going into Homestead the following week. But that's just typical Clint Bowyer just can go from such a happy and jubilant guy to an actual anger madman who can just go and go after someone as great as Jeff Gordon. So it was quite the relationship Bowyer and Gordon have. So I thought that was pretty funny. And now that
they're going to be in the booth together, so it's kind of crazy how that's played out for sure. And yeah, that one was right there just behind my top 3. I wanted to give the racing the shout out in this one, and I knew that one would come up at some point. But come on, like that's just a quintessential NASCAR moment from the 2010s.
Of course, it's one of the. I feel like some people are forgetting about it now, which is a shame because it's so great. Like I will never.
I wonder how many times that they're going to show that clip during rain delays for Fox next year.
Oh yeah, I hope if there's something this weekend, they'll probably show it. You know, it's just a great moment for me. So that's number 2 on my list. So, do you have any honorable mentions that just missed the cut for your number 1?
The main one for me was that one there. So you can go ahead and hit us with any honorable mentions you got.
Anytime he's in the booth for Clint Bowyer is an honorable mention for myself. So for next season, we're getting quite the treat. But also, I think back in probably the best example of it was 2019 in the rain delay at Darlington when he goes up into the stands and is with Dave Burns and they're interviewing the fan. I thought that was awesome. Hopefully we get to see Bowyer do that kind of thing when he's in the booth or when they go back to tracks and stuff like that. He can be more interactive with the fans and just be that kind of joy that they need on the pre-race show or something like that. And I think back to 2015, the Daytona duel when he did a 360-degree flip and then landed back on all fours. That's going to be forever etched in my brain. That was awesome. And then also the 2012 Spring Martinsville race where he went 3 wide on 2012. It was correct. I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. It could be 2011.
I believe it was 2011.
I think it was 2011 too. That's my bad. But 2011 Spring Martinsville, Bowyer makes it 3 wide going into the first corner with 2 laps to go, and he spins out Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson in the process. So, and then Ryan Newman went on to win at Martinsville. So a crazy kind of turn of events there. But that's my my 3 honorable mentions for Clint Bowyer because he's just so on the edge of chaos sometimes, and he goes that extra too far. And he's had quite the up and down career. He's gone from back marker to top tier team, back to back marker, and just found his way throughout the series. And he finally settled in a little bit over the past couple of seasons at Stewart-haas Racing. So hasn't quite had the success there maybe that he would have hoped for, but Clint Bowyer is just an all-time great in my books just for everything that he does in personality. So that leads it up to the number 1 for yourself, Kyle. Take it away.
I feel like because we haven't mentioned it yet, it's probably both of our number 1. I don't know. I could be wrong. But it's the first race that I genuinely remember watching, the 2007 Daytona 500.
Oh, no way! You have that too.
When Clint Bowyer finishes upside down and on fire.
Man.
That finish, for starters, is one of my favorite in NASCAR history. But it's like the first NASCAR race that I can genuinely remember watching. And yeah, I watched NASCAR before that, but I was like 5-6 years old. You don't remember a ton of stuff when you're that old, but I distinctly remember watching that race at night. It was a later finish as well. Back in 2007, the drag race between Harvick and Mark Martin, and then just seeing the chaos go down behind the drag race to the start finish line. And then the camera cut to Clint Bowyer finishing the race upside down and on fire. The call etched in my memory. It's not too often you get somebody finishing 18th as the number 1 memory you have for them or the number 1 moment. But come on, everyone that's a NASCAR fan knows and loves that finish and will always remember not only that moment for Clint Bowyer, but also that paint scheme as well, the 07 Jack Daniels. It's just quintessential mid-2000s NASCAR, and that for me has got to be the number 1 moment.
Okay, so I can't believe that we have such similar memories of this race because that was the first race I had ever watched in NASCAR before that. I had never watched anything really before that. I'm a huge fan of the Cars movie franchise. Everybody knows that if you know me. It's my favorite movie of all time. So that came out in 2006. So then in 2007, my dad was flipping through the channels, and it just caught my eye. I just caught the glimpse of it, and it was like 6 or 7 laps to go, and I was like, Dad, change the channel back. So I just tuned in, and at that point I wasn't a Kyle Busch fan or anything, but he was still in the thick of things there. And Mark Martin I didn't know, but soon found out that he was looking for his first Daytona 500 trophy, and everything that went into that finish. And I'll never forget Kyle spinning off a turn 4, starting the whole wreck with Kenseth behind him, and Harvick and Mark Martin get away with it. They go to the finish line, and it's a drag race to the line. And then McReynolds and Mike Joy with a great call. And then I think that camera angle as well, you never see that for a finish of a 500 where it's on the other side of the finish line,
right?
Where it's in the grass, and that's how they did it. I really love that. I don't know why they don't have that anymore, but they usually show it from the rooftop angle.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Indianapolis 500.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I appreciated that. And then just to top it all off, Clint Bowyer just sliding across the finish line on his roof and on fire. And then I just remember Larry McReynolds, he's coming across the start finish line on his roof, and he's on fire. Oh, it's just iconic. I'll never forget that. And it's kind of what got me hooked into NASCAR. Who would have thought that little moment and just flipping through the channels and stuff for myself would be, it's the first race I'll remember, and I'll never forget it. Not just because I've watched it so many times on YouTube, but also well. just from that moment. So Clint Bowyer, if you're watching or you're listening, you got me hooked basically on NASCAR with everything that happened there. So
thanks for wrecking.
Thanks for wrecking and finishing 18th in the Daytona 500 in 2007. So just a great race there, a great finish, and I'm so happy that I didn't know Clint Bowyer at all in terms of what he brought to the energy and everything else that he brought to the sport. But after watching him over the past 13 years, you've really come to love the guy. How can you not love Clint Bowyer?
Exactly.
He's basically a fan favorite. It blows my mind that he's not the fan favorite vote, because I think that he should get the most popular driver in my opinion, because he's just so likable.
He got the fan vote at the All-Star race this year, correct?
Yeah, just because of circumstances. So at least he's got that to his resume.
But
at least he's got that to his resume. So everybody loves Clint Bowyer. So I'm happy that it's crazy that we had basically the same memories and the same highlights of Clint Bowyer. So it's definitely limited with the amount of wins that he's had. So that kind of narrows things down. But any final thoughts on Clint Bowyer himself, Kyle? Anything from your perspective that you remember the most or that you appreciate the most about the great Clint Bowyer, the Emporia, Kansas native?
I mean, just over these last few years, just his personality just even more blossoming, and just his presence on social media growing, getting more involved on the broadcast, whether that be the off-rain duty where he went in the stands, like you mentioned, or these past, year and a half, 2 years now that he's done some color commentary in the lower series, and now obviously parlaying that into a full-time gig next year with Fox is going to be great. And just the final thing on Clint Bowyer is that he's a fan favorite for a reason, and it's not just the personality. He's also a great guy. I remember my dad, he went to one of the Phoenix races, I think 2, maybe 3 years ago. I can't exactly remember what year it was. He was in Phoenix for a business trip, and it happened to coincide with the race weekend, which that lucky son of a gun. But he went to the race. He had pit pass, and he met Clint Bowyer. And when he came back, he just gushed about the experience, how great of a guy he was, how funny he was. And my dad hadn't really had a favorite driver for a while there, but these last couple of seasons, he's been a big Clint Bowyer guy. So it's going to be great to see him go out this weekend. Fan favorite for many reasons, and cannot wait to see him in the booth next year where he will completely smash it.
Yeah, you could see from the Pro Invitational earlier this season how well he kind of fit in over there, and it's just going to be a great addition to that already good duo, but he just steps it up that even to the next level there for Clint Bowyer. So good luck to Clint this weekend as well. We'll talk about him just a little bit later on in our fantasy preview, just quickly on him. But for Clint Bowyer's memorable moments, that was ours. They're pretty fun to reminisce about. So